Hello, and thank you all for joining us on today's webinar. My name is Alexis Batulis with Columbus, and today we have a special presentation for you on 5 ways in which discrete manufacturing software solutions can help you. We started the call by muting everyone, so if you have any questions during today's presentation, please use the question box feature located on the dashboard on the right hand of the screen. We will have some time for Q&A with your presenter at the end of today's webinar to address any questions that may come up during our session. This webinar will be recorded and uploaded to our website and emailed to all attendees within 24 hours of this live session. And now I'm excited to introduce your presenter today, Nirav Shah. Nirav is a seasoned manufacturing consultant at 2 Increase with extensive jobs manufacturing experience, having implemented ERP systems at many different engineer-to-order, configure-to-order, project manufacturing, and make-to-stock organizations. Nirav has over 20 years of overall implementation experience with a focus on Microsoft Dynamics NAV and Dynamics 365 Business Central. So without further ado, Nirav, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Alexis. I appreciate that introduction. Welcome everybody to our webinar to discuss the 5 ways in which discrete manufacturing software solutions can help you. Before we get into the presentation, I'd like to kind of explain a little bit about project management as it relates to project manufacturing for discrete manufacturers. And that includes engineer to order, configure to order, make to order type of companies where they have a very sophisticated bill of material structure and they're making components, assemblies for highly complex industries that require, managing multiple various different aspects of a project within your current software solution. So I'd like to begin with what is project management. So project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet project requirements.
Hi, Nirav.
Yes.
I'm not sure we can see the presentation just yet.
Oh.
Could you share?
Oh, so I'm sorry.
Maybe on the settings there.
Yeah. Let me see. Can you? Yeah.
There we go.
So continuing on with project management, there's 5 core project areas. We have initiation of a project, planning phase of a project, execution of a project, monitoring, controlling, and closing of a project. All these are managed and have constraints, including but not limited to scope, quality, schedule, budget, resources, and risks. The specific project characteristics and circumstances can influence the constraints on which the project management team needs to focus. So now, since we have a little understanding of project management and what that entails, I'd like to kind of go right into our presentation. The first part of the presentation, I want to discuss some of the challenges that you're generally going to face as being a project manufacturer. However, I'd like to kind of all of us to reflect on this quote here. Project management is like juggling 3 balls: time, cost, and quality. Program management is like a troupe of circus performers standing in a circle, each juggling 3 balls and swapping balls from time to time. Everybody on the call here could resonate with that feeling. A lot of things happening in a project manufacturing environment. So now I want to begin with the challenges. Everybody on the call, that different type of challenges that everyone is facing when trying to move and execute a project, order, or a big job through your current system by way of going through these major departmental areas and what those challenges are. We're going to talk about quoting, the various challenges related to quoting. We're going to talk about engineering, production, operations, service management. From the quoting side, some of the quoting challenges that you'll generally face or on the sales side is missing price and or costs on the quote. It doesn't give you good visibility on what your margin will be, or you have no visibility on what your margins are. Lack of standardization in quotes. You may have a sales department of 4 or 5 individuals that are doing quoting in different ways. There's no set kind of consistency in the quotes that are being sent to your prospects and or customers. Duplication of quotes. Not having a good handle on the standardization of your quotes could lead to duplication of quotes, where you have duplicate quotes and not really being able to track which quote was sent to which customer at which time, possibly. Then you have maybe no visibility into your budgets. When you're creating a quote, you have no idea possibly, or a minimal idea of what is that roll-up cost for the different items that you're going to be delivering to your customer, or what is the cost of the resources necessary to complete this job. Hence kind of, winging it, if you will, and going to the point of project completion, which is too late, and then seeing that you actually had a negative margin on this job. And the final challenge here is the inability to assign project documents to quotes. So this is an interesting one, because a lot of times the success of a project hinges on how quickly anyone that accesses the project through any system could also have access to project documents to make sure that the project is moving along as per your customer's expectations, or that you have your proper customer-facing documents, drawings and things like that associated to the project, so anyone in the organization could see what those documents look like and take action accordingly. And you could kind of tell, if you don't have those documents in a centralized place, how difficult it would be to make sure you have accurate information on your quotes going to your customer. So that's the first part, which is quoting challenges. There's probably many more challenges there from the quoting standpoint, but these are kind of my top 5 from my experience in implementing software at project manufacturers. The next challenge I want to bring up is engineering challenges as it relates to project manufacturers. Engineering is a very heavy component, as everybody knows, in a project manufacturing world. Engineering is critical to ensure the success of projects, to make sure that the proper items are being created along with the bill of material, so the proper components could be ordered and or manufactured. So what are some of the issues in engineering? The first one is a disconnect between engineering and job items. There, the connection between engineering creating items and the actual item that someone from the project management team adds to the project on what needs to be manufactured may be completely different. And that causes a lot of issues in terms of clarity and understanding where the project is. The next challenge here is a lack of structure to handle engineering change requests. Engineering change requests require users on the production floor or individuals on the production floor to recognize that there is a issue or potential issue with the item that engineering has requested to be manufactured. So they could go ahead and send a request for somebody to revisit or review that item via an engineering change request. So engineering could approve the request and make the appropriate changes, all within a seamless process flow without having to do things in multiple systems. So the lack of structure to handle engineering change requests could become a big deal for make-to-order companies. Then we have the inability to link customer drawings to jobs in one place. This goes directly related to the issue we saw on quoting side, where if you're not able to link your project-related documents in one place, it could create massive confusion to really understand what's necessary to be delivered for the project. The final challenge here that I've listed for engineering is where you cannot charge engineering time to specific jobs. Engineering time sometimes could become a black hole and is not properly allocated to the jobs that an engineer is working on. This could lead to misleading margin information on what the total cost of the project was. So the ability to accurately assign engineering time to jobs is a critical component, and a lot of companies lose that time without being able to properly record it jobs. Those are some of the engineering challenges I see project manufacturers facing. The next challenge for project manufacturing is production challenges. Now, many of you on the call here today could relate to production challenges, as it's a challenge to keep production orders properly linked to your jobs to get the cost accuracy that's being built up on the production order linked to a job or a project. The very first issue that faces production is a confusion on the planning schedule. If planning does not know what jobs need to be completed by a specific date, and they are running MRP and MPS, they may potentially release the wrong items at the wrong time. That will in turn create late orders. So that's a pretty big challenge. Going along with that same theme of late supply orders, late production orders, is the late supply order issue. 7 out of 10 project manufacturers list not being able to accurately identify due dates and lead times for their jobs as one of the main concerns with projects within their systems. The third issue we have here is disconnected production systems to financial systems. That is about taking costs from the production order side or manufacturing side and having the visibility to see what those real-time costs are through your financial system. So seamless integration, effectively, between financial system and production system is the answer to that particular challenge. Then we have low accuracy of bill of materials. And what that is again, a little bit of also engineering, is where if engineering is not relaying the correct parts or bill of materials for those parts, then production is going to have a challenge of making the item that's required. So a system that talks to engineering and items and production is critical to the success of project manufacturers. Inability to capture all production costs. That's another big one on the production side. The more costs that could be tracked and accurately from a production or standpoint, whether it's material or labor or outside processes or temporary labor, and then all those costs could then be actually quickly viewable within the project. That could help determine whether the project is trending towards profitability, or we need to have another conversation with the customer that there were some unexpected costs and renegotiate some of the contract amounts possibly. But having that information in your fingertips would facilitate that conversation much easier instead of knowing it after you've fully completed the project. Okay. So moving on from production challenges, we're going to go to operations challenges. Okay. Operationally, we could see, a lot of project manufacturing companies, there's confusion logistically. If lead times are not accurate, shipment dates are not accurate, supply orders such as production orders or purchase orders are always consistently late, right? That could cause confusion in the shipping department because shipping is expecting maybe some sort of project or items for a project to be shipping on a certain date, but it's not available. And now you start getting a backlog of shipments and angry customers. The next challenge here is where you cannot provide accurate shipment dates. We just briefly talked about that. It's a huge challenge. Then we have zero visibility into the supply chain. This is a big issue as well. Not knowing where projects are operationally makes it a challenge to properly plan out and forecast new projects. Then there could also be frustration with scheduling resources to jobs. So you don't know whether you're over capacity or under capacity on man hours, which could lead to late projects and late customer deliveries and confusion, massive confusion within the warehouse floor. And then you have lack of capacity insights on the production floor, not knowing what the throughput is based on man hours or machine hours. Basically leads to poorly planning your production orders, which could lead to late orders being delivered to customers. So there are some of our operation challenges that I've seen from a project manufacturing standpoint. The next thing I want to show here is the final challenge in as part of our webinar to discuss 5 ways in which discrete manufacturing software can help you is service management challenges. Service management usually gets becomes the part of a system that nobody really focuses on after a project is delivered. But project management, if not handled correctly, could have some dire consequences in locking up cash or seeing negative profitability. So some of those challenges include lack of service integration into your current process. Could be cannot accurately associate field service time and or expenses to a job. Many times after a job or a project is delivered, a service representative has to go on site to do the final installations and programming of that particular machine for that project. All those costs should still relate and roll up to the project. Once the project is commissioned and it's accepted by the customer, there may be a handover or a handoff from project management to service to start the warranty period. Right? That's an efficient system. But what I also see as part of the challenges here is to disconnect the system to track warranty. It's done totally in a different system, which makes it very difficult to understand whether or not you're making, whether or not the warranty is actually profitable for your companies. Then you have profit loss visibility issues, not knowing how much the service department is actually making money or losing money. And that all goes with not having an integrated system. That brings us to the end of reviewing the challenges that I normally see in a project manufacturer. And now I want to refocus our attention now to what a perfect project-based manufacturing world looks like. Okay. In a perfect project manufacturing world looks like this, where you have all of our team members from our various different departments all interacting with each other under one software solution and seeing the information they need to continue moving those projects forward profitably. So this starts off looking at a role-based solution for project manufacturing companies. Usually always things start off at engineering, then they move to sales, then planning, operations, administration, and finally management. We're going to break down these roles a little further so we understand how these roles impact the scope of the project. And the success of a project relies on how these users interact within the project but within a single solution. So we have here Chris, who's an engineer. He creates and prepares maybe project templates, right? He creates those items that are necessary for sales, who's David here, to quickly quote, create the estimate, and ultimately create possibly the project order once it's approved and accepted by the customer. Right? So engineering kicks off the process here to make sure we are going ahead and manufacturing the right items per the customer's requirements. Sales has a very important step here in identifying the requirements. So they need to understand what the deliverables are within acceptable criteria, right? What's within the scope, what are constraints for executing the project, and what are the assumptions leading to possible risks. This all happens within a single system. So they create the estimate, the quote, and the job executable order. Then we have planning, because the project, right, whatever items we're creating from engineering and that's placed on a quote. Planning, Eduardo here, will run MRP and MPS to create those supply orders to fulfill the demand. Okay, so he may create purchase orders. He's going to create manufacturing orders, maybe some assembly orders as well. Right? He's the gatekeeper of all things that are happening in the demand world coming in from the job. Right? He's looking at due dates. He's looking at making sure that the dates are correct, that we're not creating too many orders at one time and creating a bottleneck on the production floor. So that's Eduardo. Right? And then we have under operations, we have Tricia, who is responsible for all phases of our resource management on the project. Who's going to be associated? Which engineers are going to be working on the job project? Do we need to purchase outside temporary labor? Are all the users on the floor logging their time correctly to the correct projects by way of using the manufacturing orders? So her job, right, is to make sure everyone is properly logging time to the project to ensure the highest accuracy of cost being associated to that project. She may also be in charge of possibly doing expense claims, making sure they're recorded to the correct project, and compensation, making sure that number of hours that the people on the floor are working, they're actually getting compensated in terms of proper PTO accrual and things like that. Okay. Then we have administration, who is Ken here. He's responsible for all things financial, making sure that as his job is going through the execution phase, that he is able to run a WIP recognition function to make sure that we are recognizing our revenue and our cost according to GAAP principles, that the correct lines, the correct invoices are being sent out and billed to the customer, and we are staying GAAP compliant. And he could see what our current margin levels look like on the project at any given time. Okay. And then the final department or final user here, Prakash, he's part of the project management team. So he might be handling 4 or 5 different projects based on a product line, and he could go in as things are happening, from David's side, putting in new orders, Eduardo doing production orders, Tricia is monitoring people, what's going on in the job. That where are we in terms of the budget to actual of the job? Are we trending towards our budget, or has there been a lot of different change orders in the job that requires maybe another phone call to the customer, or we need to raise this as a red flag to our management team? He has all that view within the projects. Okay. So with now us understanding what an integrated role-based system looks like on the main users that would be responsible to interacting with the job, let's go ahead and let's go ahead and break that down into what a perfect seamless workflow looks like for project manufacturers. Okay? And here's our integrated process. Based on all of the years of experience in project manufacturing, this process that I'm just about to explain is a time-proven workflow where if completed and all projects are handled in this fashion, would create the less disruptions to your projects and the maximum awareness and profitability for your projects. So starting off our flowchart is the first step in the process, is engineering. As you can see, as part of the role-based system, we are just overlaying our workflow here. Engineering will create maybe template items that are necessary to the project based on items or documents uploaded to the quote. And those documents could be customer specific drawings that engineering has to go into the project and open up those documents to create the proper items through their CAD system, and then push those items via CAD directly into the other system of record. And what happens from engineering standpoint, right? It's a nice transition handover to sales. Sales could then go ahead and begin quoting that job, putting in the required detail or information necessary to go ahead and provide the proper bid to the customer. At that point, that opportunity, right, is either accepted or rejected. If accepted, we create the job. We create the executable job. This executable job starts off with us also defining what those job tasks look like, similar to a work breakdown structure. Really managing your project in phases will ensure the highest level of accuracy and profitability for your jobs. Job tasks provide a great way to break your projects down into manageable chunks. From there, management and the project management team will go ahead and continue to define the scope of that project as those conversations continue to evolve. Update those job tasks, update additional granularity within the job tasks, which could be activities or elements. Okay. Really want to make sure here that those tasks represent the different proper phases of the project. Management continues to define that, and then they start putting in what we call budgets for the job. The more time that's spent on budgets, from our experience, is better from an overall understanding the full scope of the project. So budgets are important detail to add to projects. Once budgets are added, they usually are then become static as a baseline to understand what your budgeted costs are versus your actual. Then you see now we're moving down into the planning phase of the project. And during the planning phase, we're going to look at all the demand that has been already entered in the system. That demand will go ahead and create purchase orders, manufacturing orders, assembly orders, or transfer orders. Okay. Those orders are created based on due dates and date sensitivity, and to make sure that we have enough capacity and or resources to go ahead and execute those supply orders. We also have resources. We're planning out to making sure we have the right people with the right skill level at the right places to complete those production orders. Okay. And from there, we continue moving on to operations. Operations, as I said, if you remember from our role-based scenario, Trisha will record and review, making sure that the right people are logging on to the correct production orders or supply orders, and that their time is being consumed from a cost perspective into the project. That's going to yield maximum profitability when you have that visibility directly into your projects, real time. As users are going through the manufacturing process and going through the purchasing process, inventory is being increased through your systems. Inventory levels are being increased. And like any other perpetual inventory system, inventory will be consumed. When inventory is consumed into the project, right, there should be clear visibility into that, and what inventory was consumed and at what point and who did it, and what costs are now accrued, additional costs into the project, which is called generally job project inventory. Now, when we have labor cost and inventory cost associated to a project, right, again, in a seamless integrated workflow scenario, you have our administration department. In this case, what we saw from our role-based system was Ken. He's going to run what's called WIP recognition on a periodic basis. And in a project accounting standpoint, along with GAAP compliance, Ken is going to have to run WIP GL recognition on a maybe bi-monthly basis to ensure that he is recognizing the correct revenue and cost based on all costs incurred to date. GAAP compliance could mean it's a percentage of completion project, it's a completed contract project, maybe it's time and materials project. But administration has a very important role to ensure that the financial statements are produced with the highest level of quality and accuracy based on the projects that are completed or are currently in process. So within an integrated workflow system, that's easy to manage. And then finally, we have, from a project management standpoint, when you look at managerial accounting, you want to make sure that as a post-mortem, or when projects are completed or closed, or even maybe in process, that there's some meetings within internally that are we trending against our budget, what we initially expected for our projects, because you could see what actual costs are incurred to date in real time in an integrated system. Or when the project is closed, being able to accurately understand why we made money or why did we not make as much money on a project, and take that analysis and implement those process improvements for the next project. Once the project is complete and analysis is complete, generally they might be able to hand over to service. Service may take now from the project and create warranty contracts for that. And now you can start managing service orders and contracts based on warranty processes that you have in place, all within the same integrated workflow, all under a single system. So I hope everyone was able to see the benefits of an integrated process from a project manufacturing standpoint. There's many challenges to project manufacturers. I listed a number of them at the beginning of our webinar today. But those challenges could be minimized and or resolved completely in a integrated software solution that could handle your projects in an efficient, timely, and accurate manner. With that being said, I would like to open up for questions. My name, again, is Nirav Shah. I'm part of 2Increase, and we provide industrial equipment manufacturing solutions centered around project manufacturing.
All right, great. Thank you, Nirav. Let us see if we have any questions here. All right, we do have one here. What is the biggest challenge in project manufacturing with systems?
So again, from my experience, the biggest challenge is being able to backward track any issues that were encountered during the life cycle of that project. If you can't accurately record live transactions to a project, and then once that project's complete, you will have no way of seeing what transpired in the project to take corrective action to ensure that same issue doesn't arise again. And that's what happens when you have multiple different systems used to track projects, because then it becomes doing double or double entry in multiple systems, which users generally don't like.
Great. All right. If there are no additional questions, I would like to thank you all for attending today's presentation. And thank you, Nirav, for giving us a great overview of discrete manufacturing software solutions. If any later questions do come up, please be sure to reach out to us at us-marketing@columbusglobal.com, and we can connect you with Nirav. You will also see a follow-up email with a link to the recording within 24 hours of this broadcast. Replying to this email will send your follow-up questions or feedback to us directly. And with that, thanks again, and have a great rest of your day.